The Rift update is live on the Alpha network with pretty much all parts included except for a couple small things. We're going to be going over the basics today, pretty much everything you need to know in order to participate in the Rift, and trust me, there's a lot to go over. My name is Derailious, welcome back to Skyblock News, and let's launch right into it. So in order to actually go to the Rift, you're going to need to speak to the wizard at the top of the wizard tower, and there are two ways essentially of getting in. You can either buy it with bits, or get it with grand experience bottles. In my opinion, the bits are cheaper, but in reality a lot of people are going to go with the grand experience bottles because they don't have the bits. Hopping into the portal, you'll notice a few things. Notably, there is a timer on the bottom of your screen, the items you have on the outside are not the same as what you have on the inside, and also the Skyblock menu is A, a lilac, and B, different. We're going to be going over all three of these things right now. Starting off with Rift time, I think this is the weirdest thing to understand about the Rift. Basically how it works is that every time you enter the Rift, you only have a set amount of time on the bottom of your screen. Once this time runs out, you're kicked out of the Rift, but all of the items you've gathered will stay. Essentially, you will have a separate inventory inside the Rift as outside the Rift. And you can increase the amount of time you have in the Rift by collecting items, like this wild set of armor, and also by getting talismans, and our worst enemy, Enigma souls. Enigma souls, I think, are the best way of getting, essentially, this Rift time. A few of these can be found around every region, which I'll go into in a minute. And there's this guy, Enigma, who gives you an item that you're able to upgrade in order to get more, well, A, time, and B, mana regen and speed if you want to upgrade it. For instance, here, you'll notice that it says it costs motes. Motes are just coins, just called a different thing to separate it from the main Skyblock island once more. You can get motes by killing mobs, doing quests, things of that nature, and they're really not too special. So you might be wondering, well, what actually am I supposed to do in the Rift? And aside from the intro quest, which starts at the top of the wizard tower and essentially has you, moving around the Rift and explains how it works, you're going to be doing a lot of questing and also adventuring. Essentially, if you go into your Rift guide, you can see a bunch of different regions, including the Wild Woods, Black Lagoon, Village, Dread Farm, Village Plaza, Living Cave, Coliseum, Stillgore Chateau, and Mountaintop. For now, I think worrying about the Wild Woods is the most relevant. Here you can see a bunch of quests. There are a bunch of things all around here that you can do, and I've already completed quite a few of them, and some of these quests are actually pretty interesting. I personally recommend doing most of the quests in one area before moving on to the next, as trying to go to a different area will cost you a decent amount of Rift time. This first one, for instance, costs 4 minutes, and since you only have quite a few minutes, about 8 or 9 at the start, I really don't recommend wasting that time trying to go to a different area when you can just be doing the quests in the first area. This isn't a hard lock by any means, but it is a soft lock, kind of keeping you in the progression loop of your section before moving you to the next one. One of the major questions here might be, well, okay, but how am I supposed to transfer items out of the Rift? And the answer is, for most things you can't. But if you head over behind this little shack here, you can see Sirius, well, inverted Sirius, his head's down there. If you speak to him and do his quest, he'll unlock this chest for you that you can put Rift transferable items into. Essentially, this allows you to bring items out into the real world and potentially out into the Rift, but I'm not certain if that works in that direction. Maybe that's a functionality they want to make in the future, but I think for now it's mostly bringing things out into the real world. This is a doubloon of the family, for instance, that he gives you as part of this questline, giving you 100,000 coins in the real world. You have no purpose of having this in here, so you might as well transfer it out. Most items, though, do not have this Rift transferable tag, meaning that you cannot bring them out into the real world. Just to show off what happens, here's what it looks like when you run out of time. It's not really anything special, you just get booted right back to the hub. On Alpha, you get booted all the way back to here, but I think on the main server whenever this releases, you'll probably be brought back directly outside the wizard portal, at least that's what I would prefer. Once you do that, obviously, there is no time limit before you can hop in again. You just have to speak to the wizard and then get another infusion, and then, you can just hop right back in, which I think is pretty cool. The initial quest, by the way, will start at this NPC, the Wizard But Weird, and if you're reading the dialogue, that will obviously make sense. There's a bunch of other weird NPCs, characters, things to do all around in the Rift, and I don't think going over anything or everything here is that prudent. There's a huge quest line revolving around the Argofae, which are at the top of these trees, and they're pretty interesting, so I recommend you do so whenever you get the opportunity to. I really do like this update. It's a lot of questing and a lot of differences from the main Skyblock Island, which I think is pretty awesome. having a separate region, a separate area that we can go to that doesn't really matter how rich you are in the regular world or how much skill you have is good. And I think a lot of people will become fairly skilled at this section of the game, allowing them to, well, do a lot. This is the way to get the best necklace in the game, quote unquote, and I wouldn't be that shocked if it remained the best one for a very long time to come. The Rift update looks great, plays great, and honestly, I'm really excited for it. There are some things that aren't currently on alpha, notably the new Slayer, the Vampire Slayer, which is not currently refined yet. Really excited to see what they do with that, and really excited to see what people find in the later parts of the Rift. That's enough for the Rift basics though. My name is Derailious, thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future fellas, because I'll see you in the Rift.